Chapter 19, The Difference Between Two Escorting Teachers. Himing Kokshuan, can't you say something decent? You've gone overboard. Zhu Tui glared at Himing Kokshuan. He had a furious expression. Himing Kokshuan had gone overboard. In the past, He Changmo and Tang Ting had come into conflict with Himing Kokshuan and his group on several occasions. However, those kinds of conflicts had been within the realms of student argument. They did not cross the line. Zhu Tui could not interfere if they were laughing at Changmo behind his back. However, mocking Changmo in his face and adding insult to injury was going overboard. Himing Kokshuan did not back down when he saw Zhu Tui glaring at him. He stood abruptly and stared straight at Zhu Tui with a look of disregard. What I said was the truth. What's the matter? Do you have a problem? Can't I speak the truth? Himing Kokshuan tilted his head. He had a provocative expression on his face. You! Zhu Tui took half a step forward. He was livid. Why? Do you want to fight? Come! Himing Kokshuan balled his hands into fists and clenched his teeth. He let out a cold laugh. He seemed afraid that Zhu Tui would not step forward. Head out and fight if you want to fight. The voice of the teacher in charge rang out coldly. However, don't blame me for not reminding you. You shouldn't blame me if you disrupt the order of this operation and hamper your own futures. Little Tui, don't stoop to their level. It is because of my disappointing results. Changmo quickly stepped forward and pulled Zhu Tui back. Don't worry, I know when to stop. After pushing Changmo away, Zhu Tui glared at Himing Kokshuan and said, Himing Kokshuan, we are classmates. We would be classmates even when we enter the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College in the future. Even more so, we would be fellow countrymen. Let's not mention helping each other, but we shouldn't fight amongst ourselves, should we? I hope that you would act more intelligently and not disrupt the harmony between fellow countrymen this early into the trip. What he said is logical. Himing Kokshuan, you are in the wrong. At the side, a young lady who had been looking down and reading her book suddenly spoke. Gongling, it's none of your business. Himing Kokshuan was a little frustrated. He then laughed coldly towards Zhu Tui. Don't mention the kinship between fellow students and countrymen with me. You guys are a rice bucket and an enlightened mind type. What kinship? Well, be happy if you don't disgrace Jincheng Prefecture. Zhu Tui's mindset had transformed ever since the stalking incident and the incident at the bubble tea store. He was no longer anxious at this moment. All right, you said that yourself. It's you who do not care about the kinship between fellow students. Zhu Tui turned around and walked toward the other person who had been loudly mocking Changmo just now, Tong Qi. Zhu Tui's actions immediately attracted the attention of everyone on the bus. Tong Qi, this was a name that Zhu Tui had not only heard from Special Intelligence Division Captain Zhou Sheng, but he had also heard about him from several students. He was a genius from Jincheng 6th High School. His family was also very reputable. It was rumored that he had gone through a series of systematic training ever since he was young. He also scored extremely well in the genetic exams. He was the only genius who managed to activate 16 genetic base points at the exam venue in Jincheng Prefecture. He was the top scorer of this year's genetic exams. Before this, Zhu Tui had been rather excited to meet the top scorer of Jincheng Prefecture. However, Zhu Tui did not expect to meet the top scorer in such a manner. Zhu Tui walked toward Tong Qi's seat. However, without waiting for Zhu Tui to say anything, an angry shout rang out behind him. Zhu Tui, what are you going to do? The teacher in charge scolded Zhu Tui before he could do anything. If you want to cause trouble, I'll send you off the bus. This was the first time Zhu Tui felt so upset. He was very upset at the teacher in charge. He had not done anything, yet he had been shouted at twice by the teacher. However, having gone through many years in school, Zhu Tui was already an expert at outwitting the teacher. He turned around and faced the teacher in charge, then revealed his row of white teeth. Teacher, which eye of yours saw me cause trouble? You have to produce the evidence, Zhu Tui challenged. I only want to say a few words to my fellow student, Tong Qi. Is that not allowed? Or are we going to have a no-talking rule in the bus today? His tone was neutral. It silenced the teacher who was about to flare up. The teacher stared coldly at Zhu Tui but did not say anything. Zhu Tui's gaze was also a little cold. This teacher in charge must be sick in the head. He did not know how to do his job and was picking on Zutui. Wasn't that causing trouble? Zutui turned around and said, "Tongki." Tongki did not move. He remained in his seat with his arms crossed. He tilted his chin slightly upward and gave Zutui a curt reply, "Do you need something? Be more respectful with your words next time." Tongki was not aggravated even though he was criticized by Zutui. Instead, he raised his head and laughed. "And what if I didn't?" Zutui gave Tongki a cold stare, then returned to his seat without saying anything. Along the way, Zutui noticed that the teacher in charge had not stopped staring at him. It seemed as though the teacher was trying to find faults with him. It made Zutui roll his eyes toward the teacher. 20 minutes later, all of the students had boarded the bus. The teacher in charge went through the attendance list and confirmed that all of the students were here. "Students, let me introduce myself. My surname is Cha and my full name is Cha Yifeng. I belong to the investigation department of Jincheng Prefecture Ministry of Education. I'm the teacher in charge of your group. There are 30 students on this bus. All of you are genius students who have been accepted into the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College. I believe that you have heard and understood that the annual season of students reporting to their genetic evolution colleges is never peaceful. This time, we would spend 2 days on the road. During these 2 days, I hope that every student would be able to listen to instructions and follow the rules while on the road. You will safely arrive at the capital and begin your college life, and I will have successfully completed my first escort mission." At this point, Cha Yifeng's tone suddenly turned threatening. However, he'll say the ugly words first. "If you dare to cause trouble and not follow the rules while we are on the road, please do not blame me for turning nasty." Cha Yifeng had directed the last few words toward Zutui. Zutui rolled his eyes. Was he that prominent? "Did all of you hear me?" The scattered replies made Cha Yifeng look bad. He shouted again, "Did all of you hear me? Louder!" "Yes." Cha Yifeng had an unfriendly gaze. He had especially stared at the thorn that was Zutui, only to see that Zutui was still looking downward. Zutui did not look up, nor did he say anything. Zutui, Chafing walked forward and arrived in front of Zutui's seat before he shouted. Cheng Mo gently elbowed Zutui. "What's the matter, teacher? Did you hear what I said just now?" Zutui looked at Cha Yifeng for some time, then slowly said, "Teacher, my ears are fine. I'm not deaf." Cha Yifeng was furious. That was not the answer he wanted to hear. He had wanted to seize the opportunity to lecture Zutui and display his authority. That way, he would have a much easier time controlling this group of students while they were on the road. He did not expect to be put on the spot by Zutui. However, he would have gone overboard if he continued to press the matter. The cameras in the bus were not decorative items. "It's good that you hear me. Wait for the bus to set off." All he could do was return to his seat with a fierce expression. 2 days. Can you last that long? Zutui asked softly when he heard the faint sounds of Cheng Mo's growling stomach. "No problem. I brought a lot of food. We'll also be given meals along the way," Cheng Mo assured his friend. "All right, I've also brought food along. I also have level E and level F energy restoration elixirs. If you are really hungry, we can use those to stave off your hunger. Don't worry, I brought some with me too. Tell me if you don't have enough." They waited for half an hour. First, 2 security personnel from the military examined the interior of the bus with an inspection device. Then, one of them went to the front of the bus and sat down behind the driver. The other officer took out a fist-sized circular device and placed it at a central position on the roof of the bus. He gave the device a gentle tap and activated the electronic device. Zutui knitted his brows slightly. He felt a little upset the moment that electronic device was activated. At the same time, Gongling, who was sitting in front of Zutui, also knitted her brows. Almost instantly after the electronic device was activated, several students who were playing with their communication devices suddenly let out a cry of surprise. "What's going on? My communication device suddenly ran out of power. It had been fully charged." "That's right. It's the same for me. I can't even restart it." This is a super miniature radiation atomic releasing device. When it is activated, all electronic devices would lose power within its radius because of a disruption of the electronic signals. At the same time, It also acts as a signal blocker. All of your electronic devices would return to normal after we arrive at our destination and the device is shut off. The security officer finished what he had to say with a serious expression, then sat down at the last row of seats. The students in the bus let out a sorrowful howl. Wouldn't they be bored to death along the way if they could not use their electronic devices? So, I brought a book. Gong Ling, who was sitting in front of Zhu Tui, waved the book in her hand and smiled. However, the bus did not set off even after the security officers took their seats. They waited for a while longer. Suddenly, a tall and slender figure stepped onto the bus. She was wearing dainty white shoes, a pair of light blue jeans that hugged her slender legs and waist, and a rather loose light-colored shirt. Her hair was tied into a ponytail, and she was carrying a black backpack in her arms. The youthful aura that radiated from that person even made Gong Ling, who was in her prime age, turn her head to look. She was a little envious. Even though the person was wearing a blue disposable medical mask, all of the boys in the bus sat up straight and glanced toward her. Zhu Tui was rather shocked. Wasn't that the female researcher? She was Professor Zhao Soxui from the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College's Mystery Branch School of Enlightened Mind. Why was Sheher? I am Professor Zhao Soxui from the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College's Mystery Branch School of Enlightened Mind. I am also a teacher who will escort the students on this bus. The students were silent, only giving Zhao Soxui acknowledging glances. Along the way, I hope that you students will be able to follow the rules. You can tell me if you have any questions or require any assistance. Have all of you heard me clearly? And Zhao Soxui, who had just got onto the bus, said, Yes, Professor N. Their plea was bright and organized. Jia Yifeng, who was also an escorting teacher, felt extremely displeased when he heard it. It was a little heart-wrenching. They were both teachers. Why was the difference in treatment so stark?